Okay, guys, well, welcome to the Ultimate Summer Body Shaker, week number 2. And we are here today, and I know many of you are listening to the recording, so hello to everyone in recording land. This is Erin Coastal, and today we have an amazing guest who's going to be sharing with us how to plan that third meal on your Isogenics program. You know, what's the greatest combination, what you need to do, and then she's got some great tips for us. I'll introduce her in a moment. But before we do, hi Darren, how are you doing? Good to see you. And there's our infamous Mummy's phone. I love this. I never know. I think that's Laura. Laura, another one of our Laura girls. So welcome to everybody. Before we kick it off, many of you are in your second week, you're feeling the results, you're super happy, or you're like Darren, maybe you cleansed yesterday and you're not happy because you have a lot of muscle and cleanse days are hard. Anyhow, I'd love to hear some updates. I know some of you are going to share your stories. So Gemma, why don't you hop out? We're just doing introductions. Gemma, why don't you hop out and share with us how the program's been going for you?
Okay, so I've been on the program now for 14 days. Initially, the first couple of days, it took my body a while to get used to the system. But yes, now, all in all, I have lost 15.5 inches and 10 pounds altogether. Not that that's like the be all and end all, but I've also got loads more energy. I'm sleeping better. I don't wake up in the morning grumpy. I literally hop out of bed. And another thing I wasn't expecting to happen is my skin and my nails. My nails are so strong, and my skin, I normally suffer from spots, so I haven't actually got any at the moment, which is great.
I love it. What was that last thing that you just said? Your skin and nails and what?
Yeah, I usually suffer from spots, but I haven't had one spot since I've been on the system.
Awesome.
So,
And so you're just full of energy. I can see it in your face. Good to see. Amazing.
Yeah, I do feel really good, really good.
I love it. You know what's kind of cool about the UK, and I don't know, Shaunna, you probably understand this, it's fun to have a bunch of people start at the same time, right? It's kind of cool. It's kind of how we all were. Who else wants to jump out and share kind of their results, where they're at? It's really inspiring. Feel free. Emma, you said you were having good results. Why don't you share with us?
Yeah, okay. So I've only been on the products for a week now. I had my first weigh in today and I've lost 7 pounds, and redid my measurements tonight, and it's well, if they're all right, it's 18 centimeters that I've lost overall, so I'm really pleased. Sleeping a lot better, feel good.
And are you finding it challenging, easy?
The cleanse day, every day's been fine. I've not been hungry at any point. I've had 2 snacks every day, and on my cleanse day I was just a little bit lightheaded by the evening, but fine again the next day when I reintroduced the shake. So good
For you. Love it. And I think we had one more share. I think that was Mummy, whoever that is. Is that Laura?
It's Mummy.
Hi, Mummy. What's your grown-up name?
My name's Kelly.
Hi,
and I've been on for 2 weeks now. And I did a post earlier in our group, and I just wanted to say that I've done shakes before, I've done different diets before, but in this one I really haven't felt hungry. I felt positive and I felt quite happy. I've done my first cleanse day today, which is fine. But my first week was my pre-menstrual week, which I know we all find quite tough. But at the time, I didn't realise, and I felt totally different than I've ever felt before, which was, for me, absolutely amazing. So if that carries on, I'm going to be extra happy with that, because it was just fantastic. I didn't even know. So my weight was a bit up and down in the first week, but after the 2 weeks, I've lost 9 pounds. I've had some social nights, and I've just, really enjoyed it.
Amazing. Well, good for you. Awesome job. It's so fun. And yeah, there's maybe Shaunna can even comment on the hormones that you're experiencing, the changes. Isn't it amazing, the power of superfood? And we heard from Shirley, she's been doing well and using the program, and awesome. Laura and Darren. Darren, you did some more cleanse days. How did you manage?
Yeah, I did a cleanse day yesterday, but it wasn't great for me. Where I've gone low carb for my guest spot the week before, going the cleanse day yesterday was a nightmare for me. My energy level was at zero. Today in the gym, it was probably the toughest session I've had in a long time. No energy, so I was glad to be able to eat this morning. I can definitely say that. I just find it, because I carry so much muscle, I burn a lot of calories. Going without food for a whole day I will do it now and again, but I don't think I will. I'll do it like once every 2 weeks or once every 3 weeks. I'll probably do it once every couple of months just to help. But
put it in perspective, you normally eat about 7 meals a day.
Where I normally eat 7 meals a day, I'm at about 4,000 calories a day. It's a big difference going to that. Yeah.
And that would be really typical. A lot of people like yourself wouldn't normally do lots of cleansing. I think as a leader, it's a good idea to experience it. I think you've done your due diligence.
Yeah, I've got to say that I can't, I had to do it to prove it could be done. And if I can do it, this is my second one. If I can do it, anyone can do it.
You have stories to tell. My husband, I don't think, has ever done one, right? He's like, by lunchtime, he's like, he's eating a meal. I said, I thought you were cleansing today. I changed my mind. So good for you, right? It takes a lot of willpower, and I'm really proud of you for doing that and just to experience it. And you can also cleanse at night. When you're not watching your carbohydrates, you can have some of that cleanse before bed. There's still benefits to cleansing a little bit just at night. So, because we are detoxifying overnight. So, way to go.
Erin. So, I posted in the group that I've lost weight as well, and centimetres and inches, but something today, which was really powerful for me. I did a cleanse day yesterday, and obviously with reducing the you never say that word, the inflammation. So every morning I wake up with very, very swollen hands where I hold a lot of water in my hands, and they're generally painful to the point where I can't really move my rings or anything, and they look like big fat sausages. So anyway, I cleansed yesterday, woke up this morning and my rings were like this. I could just take them off. There was no swelling in my hands whatsoever. So whilst, we share a lot about weight and centimetres and stuff as well, and I know that Jem said about her skin and her nails, like that for me was massive because I had no pain in my hands this morning, no swelling whatsoever. So, that was really, really, really good for me as well. So I thought I'd share that.
Oh, that's amazing. Right. I love it. And just so you guys know, when we're sharing stories, we're not allowed to say the word pain, believe it or not, because it's non-compliant. We can say discomfort. So if you're sharing about your hands, just say, I had a lot of stiffness or discomfort in my hands. But awesome. Congratulations. All right, guys, well, let's get into it. So you guys are doing typically two shakes a day, a healthy meal, some snacks. Today, Dr. Shaunna Menard is going to be sharing with us a little bit more about how to kind of design that third meal. Let me just tell you about Shaunna. She's actually, Laura and Gemma, how you guys are, building this business together and starting. That's kind of how Shaunna and I did it. I got started and she was a friend of mine, and she hopped on board after a little skepticism, and we really linked arms and we really ran to the top together. And we had such a fun time doing launch parties. We'd do a little party at her house, and, and then a couple weeks later we'd do another one. She had the better house. And then we had people sitting on the floor. They were sitting on the stairs. They were crying. We brought, just how we told these stories, now we were telling those stories in her living room. Women were like, I got my husband back. Do you remember those days, Shaunna? I mean, we couldn't keep the people away. And we did that for a good while, 3, 4, 5 months, and created a big wave of momentum. And so I'm going to invite all of you guys to bring people to your home, share these stories, and teach people what we have. Because there are women with sore fingers, and there are police officers with, no food that they can get quickly. And there are moms that want a solution. So you have something here that you can go out and share. And it's amazing. So let me just tell you about Shaunna. Dr. Shaunna Menard has been a medical doctor for over 25 years. She's a former assistant professor of medicine and chair of public health. She also studied nutrition in New York and became certified as a holistic health coach. And she's a superfoods author. She had an amazing experience with Isagenix 5 years ago, releasing toxic fat, managing her stress, high stress environment, and immediately started sharing this lifestyle with others and her family. And she has 4 beautiful teenage boys. I think one might even be an adult by now. I don't know.
20 now. I just turned 20, so yeah, technically yes.
Yeah, she's a 6-figure income earner in our business, in her own business. She lives in Kelowna, British Columbia, where if you imagine what Canada would look like, that's Kelowna. Beautiful mountains and water. And I know Shirley's been looking at coming out to BC, so she lives in the heart of it all. She understands the challenges that it takes, and she loves the challenges that it takes to eat healthy, and that's why she was really happy and excited about Isagenix. She's helped thousands of people improve their health, create wealth. And right now, her most frequently asked question is about that third meal, that 400 to 600 calorie meal. And so she uses her expertise to help people design the perfect third meal. She has a website. If you want to learn more about, this other, if you want more information about that third meal, you can go to her website. It's called mealcure.com, or is it themealcure.com, Shaunna?
Mealcure.com.
Mealcure.com. It's an online superfood program that helps you plan out your 5 superfood meals. So she, has that available for you guys if you want to take a look at that. But today she's going to share some guidelines for you and just go through a few tips to really help us with that third meal. So welcome, Shaunna.
Thanks, Erin. This is so fun to see so many new people, and it does take me right back. And man, I just wanted to jump in on a lot of your stories there as I was listening to them. And I just want to highlight some of the things that you guys have said, and you're already acknowledging what a difference this is making. You're already experiencing the ice glow that we always get with our skin. You can you'll see it, it'll happen, and other people will notice, and that's really interesting. And, Shirley, when you mentioned about the stress, and so part of my story is before Isagenix, I had already tweaked onto and seeing my patients that I was a radiologist, so I did a lot of ultrasound work, a lot of procedures. But I would say that in diagnostic imaging, about 70% minimum of everything that I was imaging as a doctor could have been prevented with a healthy lifestyle. And the whole reason I went into medicine was because when I was 14, my grandma died of cancer, and I didn't want people to suffer like that. So I went into medicine, that's logical. But then I realized, man, they're giving me all the power, and they actually have it in themselves and in the choices they make. And so that had me clean up my own act. I'd had these 4 boys in 5 years, which, after each kid I'd lose 5 pounds. Sounds not too bad, but times 4, that's 20 pounds plus 10 from high school, 30 pounds. So everybody kind of has a story of how that happened. And so as I was looking at my patients thinking, man, you could do better, I had to look in the mirror and first be the change you wish to see, and I could do better. So I really started delving into superfoods and how amazing that was, and what a difference it meant, and clean eating, and I had this passion for it. And that's where Erin and I intersected and connected. So I was studying nutrition in New York, I was teaching people, I was coaching people, and I myself was able to lose 30 pounds, clean eating and with superfoods. But, and it's a big but, and it's the reason why you have gold in your hands right now. And that is, there were 2 things that prevented that from being lifelong, and that was stress and toxicity. So Shirley totally can hear you. I was working 7 a.m. to midnight as a doctor when Erin brought this to me, and stress was the key thing. And it didn't matter that I knew what the right foods were. I'd already written a book on superfoods, and yet I didn't have the time to get it into my body. And I was so stressed. Stress increases our cortisol, increases our belly fat. So you're going to experience people, maybe even as you get great results, you might be sharing it with others, and they're like, I'm following this and it's just not happening for me. Well, part of the problem is stress. So I can't stress enough how important it is to include ionics. Ionics is going to be a game changer for you. And I was literally able to sculpt. I lost 6 inches off of my bloated, stressed out belly. So that's amazing. And you're going to see that over and over and over again. So it's important to have great food, but that is important. Ionics for stress, and then cleansing. So cleansing was a game changer. Your bodies, I just want to preface all of this because what I'm going to share is a great add-on, but you want to have the basics down first. That's the most important thing. And so cleansing is the other piece. And we're exposed to toxins. You cannot avoid it. And even in some of these superfoods that I'm going to talk to you about, they're going to be coated with insecticides and pesticides. They just are. And you're going to breathe it in the air. You just are. And so your body has a liver, which is great, your major detox organ, and it's going to help you deal with these toxins. But it was never meant to deal with 80,000 chemicals that are in use today. And it was never meant to deal with a PCB or a Teflon PFOA. It knows what to do with organic compounds, but this stuff, it doesn't know what to do with. So it is often like, I always say, well, we're selling our house right now, and so you know when somebody's going to be coming over quick and you have to do a quick cleanup? Well, you put this away here and put that in that spot there, and then you come across this stuff and you don't know where does it go. So what do? It's in the junk drawer, under the bed, in the garage. That's what your body does. It comes across these toxins, it doesn't know what to do with it, so it walls it off in a layer of fat as best to protect you, which is great. So you can be busting it at the gym, you can be eating all these right superfoods that I'm going to talk to you about, and you just still can't seem to lose the weight. And that's where cleansing comes in. And so I want to piggyback on what Daz was saying. And so Daz, for these awesome athletes, some could argue that they actually have to cleanse more because you are eating more food, 7 meals a day. So you're going to take in more toxins. You have more muscle. Your metabolism is going. You have actually increasing more free radical damage. In a sense, you're going to increase that. And you're breathing more air in, potentially out in polluted air. And so potentially you need to cleanse more. But yeah, a cleanse is not anything to base muscle building on at all. Now, the wonderful thing about this cleanse is it's the only anti-catabolic cleanse. In other words, it's not going to dip into your lean muscle mass. It is, if you go beyond 2 days, you will, but never do that. But it is going to preserve your muscle, which is where you get that shred and the sculpt. So I would recommend, as Erin suggested, the nightly cleanse. You know, if you're working out hard every day, that little bit, it's going to be like brushing your teeth every night. It's going to be great. That's what my mom does. She does it for different reasons. Not an athlete. She's just a big chicken. And so that works too. So having that cleanse just as a little nightcap is going to be great. And many of you have maybe seen the video of Jill Birth. If you have not seen her 130-pound weight loss, her first 70 pounds were just with nightly cleansing. So with that said, what I'm going to share with you about meal planning, isogenics, you got to know, is an extremely forgiving system. That third meal could be kind of disastrous and you're still going to get great results. You could not know what you're doing and you're still going to get great results because most of your meals, most of your snacks are covered. You have a system for cleansing off the toxins. You have a system for dealing with stress, and you have a system for impeccable nutrition in those shakes that you just can't get at your grocery store as much as we'd like to. So that being said, you got some leeway. Now, where it came in for me is after a while, and people get their goals, and then they start to maybe go down to 1 shake a day, and they actually weren't taught how to eat healthy because they didn't have to, and some are great with it, and some are not so great with it. So here's the deal. And if you're taking notes, I'm going to refer to a few things. Now, I don't know if you guys in your pack, we get a little, there's a girl running on, and it's like 30 days to a new you or something like that. And in there, there's a little pamphlet, and there's a girl running on the front, and they kind of walk through a system. Now, it might be different in your packs, but on there, and at what used to be isaproduct.com, isaproduct.com, and I would still refer you to that. That's going to be a great reference spot. And in our Facebook groups, in the file sections, you're going to be able to see a template of what a healthy 400 to 600 calorie meal is. That's an excellent guide. So here's the nutshell basics. You want half of your plate of vegetables. You can do that. You're going to be away to the races. For protein, you want a protein with every meal and snack. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about protein in a minute. But let's say for meat, like the size of your palm. You know, bigger guys get bigger sizes of meat, the smaller ones get smaller, but the size of your palm is a good rule of thumb. You kind of have it with you all the time. The size, a checkbook size, pocketbook size for salmon or fish is another great one. Beans, nuts, lentils, all of these things are, eggs are an excellent source of protein. So you want to have, you know, a quarter of your plate even of that, but those are the sort of that serving size. Now, we'll talk about protein in a minute as we break down the 3 macronutrients. And then you want a little bit of fat, a little bit, like a tablespoon of healthy olive oil, or, you know, a serving of avocado or something like that. So you want fat. And then grains, if you're having grains, that carb, you want it whole grain. I'm going to break this all down. So there's 3 macronutrients: protein, carbs, and fat. And you want all of them. You want all of them in the right quality and quantity. And that could change over the course of your life, depending on who you are, depending on what's in vogue at the moment. But your body's always going to need protein, carb, and fats, healthy fats. So we fell into a trap in the 80s, if some of you are old enough to know the low-fat craze of the 80s that made everybody fat. And right now we're in a low-carb craze, which is still going to make everybody fat, but we'll let them figure that out. So you want these, and you want to not shy away, but the devil's in the details. There's a difference between a donut and an apple. There's a difference. You can have the same calories, but there's a difference. There's a difference between certain fats. So let's look at protein. I'm going to give you another link if you're curious and interested. Go to Isagenix, ISAGENIX, health.net. And there's some excellent studies that have been done with the isogenic system. And I especially love the ones from Dr. Paul Arciero. And he talks about protein pacing and the PRIZE protocol. So there was several studies. There was one where they looked at obese people and they lost more fat and visceral fat and belly fat than the heart healthy diet, and then they kept it off longer. And then there's another one that you did in athletes. These were people who were already working out, who were already lean, and they got better results with isogenics and with protein pacing. So way back before, when I'd lost my 30 pounds and eating clean, one of the little mantras I had in my mind at that point, and I wouldn't say it was high protein or low carb, but it was a lot higher protein and a lot lower carb than I was eating. So relatively, yes, but I wasn't shying away from any. So some people might say, well, that was low carb and high protein, but no, it's just my standard American diet wasn't as good at that point as a lot of people's are. So protein pacing refers to having, and this for sure Daz is doing, 20 grams of protein 4 to 6 times a day, metered throughout the day. Your body can only digest and absorb so much in a sitting. At coaching thousands of people, it's very clear the people that are the heaviest tend to be the ones who skip breakfast, have a kind of crazy, almost non-existent lunch, and then this big, huge dinner meal. And then they go to bed, like they have this big, huge meal and they're exhausted and they're stressed. That's no good. When we bust through plateaus, instead of, unlike a diet where we're cutting calories, we're actually adding in more protein. So what would this look like? A healthy shake for breakfast, a healthy snack, boiled eggs, some almonds, things like that. Another thing that I like, depends if you're vegetarian or not, but if you're not, you can get these dolphin friendly. You might not be able to get them there, but I like these little tuna packs. You got to check, some of them are high sodium. You don't want those. There's probably different ones in the UK, but there are some sort of little protein packs that you can get throughout the day. Boiled eggs, boil up a dozen eggs on a Sunday and then you have them for your week. That's kind of the easiest, really quick go-to snack. Then you're going to have your shake for lunch, say. That's a great way to be able to have your dinner with your family, and then a late night snack at night, which brings into the bedtime belly buster. After your first couple of months and you want to take it to the next level, you might hear something about that. And that's basically getting a little bit more protein at night. And that's what they did in this prize protocol. So I guess what I'm saying is don't be afraid to add in more shakes throughout the day. That's going to be okay, especially if you're working out. But for sure, when you're creating a healthy third meal, absolutely, you gotta have protein in there. You just gotta. You can't just do fries. You can't just do pasta, regular old pasta. Now there's some great protein pastas that you can get now. And so you can look for those. There's ways to do it. There's ways to kind of cheat so it's delicious and satisfying, but you want to get a protein in there. So check out the protein pacing things. You can also look on my timeline. I did a webinar or a Facebook Live educational thing on protein pacing a little while ago. Okay, now let's go to carbs. Well, and actually within each protein, there's little caveats. So like I mentioned, salmon, but there's a difference, right? Wild Alaskan salmon, and it depends on who's having oil spill in what part of the ocean, you're still gonna have to worry about toxins and things. So you wanna get wild as opposed to farmed, and there's a lot of details that you have to kind of be aware of. Carbs, let's talk about that because that's kind of the biggest thing. For sure, you wanna load up with healthy vegetables. Pretty much all vegetables are healthy, they just are. There's an environmental working group list called the Dirty Dozen. They update it every year, and those are the list of the foods that are the most heavily laden with insecticides and pesticides. So apples and strawberries, for example, which I talk a lot about as great superfoods, and I include them, they're notorious Dirty Dozen ones. So you're going to be getting more insecticides and pesticides. Thank goodness we have a cleanse to deal with. But how I use that list, and you can look up Environmental Working Group or Google Dirty Dozen and see what the lists are. For your organic buying dollar, because organic costs more, then the ones that are on the Dirty Dozen list, they're going to be worth your organic buying dollar. There's also a Clean 15. They are the ones least heavily laden with pesticides and insecticides. Typically, bananas are on there, things like that. Celery is often on there. For that list, if you just want to buy conventional, that's probably going to be okay. So that's how I like to use that list. You want to get it clean and organic as much as you can. Now, there's all of this talk about sugars. So let's just talk quickly, and this will kind of be the second last point I wanted to make, and that is about the glycemic index. So when you eat a carbohydrate, and there's simple and complex carbohydrates. We want these complex carbohydrates that take a while to digest and break down. If you eat sugar, this is what happens in your body. Your blood sugar goes up, and if it's something like, let's take licorice, for example, or some other thing that is like really high sugar, something that's the candy, just think of candy, all right? Your sugar spikes up, your insulin says, oh my gosh, clean up on aisle 4, look at that. I have to stop burning fat for fuel. Wait a minute, that's not what we want. But it stops burning fat for fuel, and it addresses the sugary mess, and it drives it back into the cell to just kind of keep the balance. And what it does, it's almost like a mom with an out-of-control temper tantrum kid and just kind of wallops on them and overreacts, and actually it drives it so much into the cell that your blood sugar is now low, really low, and you're actually hypoglycemic. It's lower than you were to start with. And so now what's happening is you're not burning fat for fuel, so you're more fat. You're irritable because you're hypoglycemic, and you have cravings like you wouldn't believe, and you go back for another hit. And away you go, up and down, up and down. And that sugar spike diet is absolutely deadly. 89% increased risk of breast cancer with the sugar spike diet. Increased risk of diabetes. 59% increased risk of prostate cancer. This is deadly. This is where I get
Shaunna, can you say that again about the breast cancer risk with sugar?
89% increased risk of women who have this sugar spike diet. 89% increased risk of breast cancer.
So Shaunna, what do you say to the person that says, oh, 24 grams of carbohydrates or sugar in the shake? I don't know, that seems kind of high for me.
What matters is the glycemic, what matters is the response of in your body. Here's the wonderful thing. Everything in isogenics is low glycemic. It is not going to spike your blood sugar. And so there's many things that go into whether something spikes your blood sugar, like the candy out there, or not. And that's fat. Fat slows your digestion and slows the release. Protein, having a protein. So actually having a burger and fries is better than fries alone. I'm not recommending that, but I'm just saying. And having things like sour helps to blunt that response. Adding in fiber like cinnamon. Cinnamon is an excellent thing to throw on. Think of cinnamon sticks. It's like fiber. So by adding on things, you can actually blunt that blood sugar response. So high fiber is kind of a good key. If you have lots of fiber, it's probably going to be a slower release plan. Even how you cook your pasta. If you undercook your pasta and cook it al dente, like teeth, dentist teeth, so it's undercooked harder, it's when it's overcooked, it releases the sugar more easily, the starches more easily into the water and also into you. So if you keep it undercooked, it's going to be slower. It's going to hang on to that and it's not going to release it into you. So undercooking is also helpful. But the biggest difference would be whole grains rather than refined grains. So we've all heard about this by now, not 15 years ago when I started talking about this, but the white bread, the white flour, the white sugar, that really is really disastrous. But whole grain, whole different thing. Now, of course, there's a gluten issue. We can talk about that in a sec if we want. But the key thing is this glycemic index. So this is actually a Canadian doctor, Dr. Jenkins, who observed this. And what he did, and I think it's helpful to understand the basics of this, because if you just Google out there glycemic index, you're going to get misled. And I'm just going to show you where sometimes people get tripped up. So what he did is he took 50 grams of carbohydrate, gave it to people, measured their sugar 2 hours later. And pure sugar was given a number of 100. And everything else was based relative to that. And they found that, yeah, your sugary candy is going to spike your blood sugar, no surprise. But then they found cornflakes did. Now, we kind of know that's going to now, but back then we didn't. Like cornflakes cereal spiked the blood sugar. So that was something. And kind of healthy sounding foods like carrots, for example, spike your blood sugar. And that just seemed off. So the key thing is, that's where they started to look at that. And then there's a lot of people who are against carrots. Don't be against carrots. But I'll tell you how that, so it's when you looked at 50 grams of carbohydrate, it would spike the blood sugar. Now, 50 grams of carbohydrate, it depends on the serving size. So if you look at bread, 50 grams of carbohydrate is one slice of bread. That makes sense. We would eat that. In fact, we'd probably have 2. But 50 grams of carbohydrates in terms of carrots is 8 large carrots. Who eats 8 large carrots in one sitting? Nobody. And so when was the last time you saw someone get fat eating carrots? It wasn't the carrots. It was the Twinkie or the donut. It was not the carrots. So people got a little bit messed up and started shunning a whole set of vegetables, brightly colored vegetables with lots of nutrients. So what matters is the glycemic load, which actually takes into account your serving size, the serving size. So as a kind of a cheat sheet thing of, well, how do I know what that is? Well, it turns out if you have a healthy protein in there, that's probably going to be something that is bringing down that blood sugar. Alkalinizing diet is going to bring down that blood sugar, these vegetables that we have. And again, everything in isogenics, it makes it so easy. People don't even have to know this stuff and they're going to get results. Sour, things like vinegar, balsamic vinegars, lemon, citrus, those things are going to help to blunt that response. Cinnamon is going to help to blunt that response. Healthy fats, let's just zip into healthy fats as the last one. Healthy fats like olive oil, avocado oil, macadamia nuts, for example, all sorts of nuts, salmon, all of these monounsaturated fatty acids are really, really great. So there's a difference between a side of beef and olive oil. And so now both are fat, but they're different types of fat. So there's unsaturated, saturated, and then the trans fats. You never want trans fats. to extend the shelf life, not your shelf life, but the shelf life of foods. But if you avoid, and most places are pretty good there, but if you're avoiding packaged foods, and that's where I used to tell people avoid packaged foods because they had all of this garbage in it. And that's why I told Erin when she first brought this to me, no, because I don't do packages. But this is different. It doesn't have the things that we say. When we say avoid packages, we mean avoid all of these artificial ingredients and these trans fats and all of those things. Well, that's not in here. And what's in here in Isogenics is these whole foods. So you're going to be away to the races regardless of what you have for a meal. But a bottom line, you want about a 400 to 600 calorie meal, which has a good, and so I don't count calories, but what I will do is get half of my plate of vegetables. Leafy greens are awesome. Bright orange is awesome. Buy organic if they're going to be part of the Dirty Dozen. Throw an olive oil dressing on there, for example. Now, remember I said with each category, there's like a little caveat, and it's impossible in this short amount of time that I have to go into the details. But for example, olive oil, it's got a low smoke point. So if you're going to use olive oil, which is an extremely healthy fat, use it for salad dressings or no cooking or no heat cooking or like really, really low heat cooking. If you go above the smoke point, then you've got free radical damage, which is the whole point of what we're trying to avoid in the first place. So
I've done a lot of cooking in not the right olive oil you can smell it. I mean, this girl does not cook. That girl, I don't know if whatever Zoom side, she's an amazing cook. And every week she posts recipes. They're amazing.
So just to wrap it up, those details are in the good cooking oil, coconut oil, avocado oil, grapeseed oil, and sometimes walnut oil, you're going to see on there. So I do a lot of avocado oil and coconut oil for cooking. So, and coconut oil is great for your skin as well. Lots of great uses for coconut oil. That's for another topic another time. What I found is, so that's basically a healthy meal, and anyone can do it. For me, driving home from the hospital, I'd already written a book on superfoods, super stressed. I'd had it up to here by the end of my day. I couldn't take one more question, and the thought of what's for dinner threatened to derail me. Like, it sounds stupid, like a pretty high functioning, but that was like, I just hated that. And every day I had to ask myself the same thing. And I'd come home and I couldn't throw stuff together. And then I'd look at the spinach that I had, and it was like, I had good intentions for that, but it's gone bad, so it got chucked out. It was just chaos and random, and I knew better, and I wanted to do better. So when Isogenics came, that helped a ton of people. And so now what I've done with this meal cure is what I do is I plan out, so you can totally do this on your own, obviously. And if you're someone like Daz, he's probably wanting to do, chicken breast 7 times a day or something. This would not be for him. This is for the average person who is like, you got a family or it's just yourself and you want to know what's for dinner. So I know what a stress, and I take all of the nutrition and organization, having 4 kids in 5 years, being a doctor, and bring that all into this. And what I do is I plan out 5 dinner menus. I have simple, easy recipes. They're all less than 30 minutes, less than 30 ingredients. And then I give out a shopping list that is detailed, so you only buy what you need, but you have everything you need. And I load it up. So it's a membership site. I didn't want to go into too much. If you had to do only one thing, do Isogenics, because it's kind of idiot-proof, if I could say that. Anybody's going to get great results. But if you want to know if that is something that is an issue, check out mealcure.com. And Erin's people are my people. I love you guys. And if you want, it's less than a cup of coffee a week. I just want to, I know I wasn't wanting to, I don't want to sell them on anything, but if they're wanting it, I'm happy to extend a 20% off because they're in this group cleanse that Daz and Erin have got going on here. So if you put in ISA20 in a coupon code, you'll get 20% off. But you totally don't have to do that. You can totally do this on your own. Isoproduct.com would be a good source. If you want to know about superfoods, particular superfoods, you can also check out my YouTube channel at Dr. Shaunna. It's free. I tell you all about each superfood, how you can use it, give you some great ideas. You're welcome to all of that. And you're welcome to stalk me on Facebook and see what kind of I'm cooking and sort of reproduce what you want. It's all open. But I think that's it. Oh, the last piece about the fat. Remember, Erin has, you've probably seen some of her amazing photos. And one of the things that she did was just before, and I know she did this, is she had extra Iso Omega Supreme. And I do too. I did too for my before and after photos. So those are healthy fatty acids. So if you're getting extra omega fatty acids from somewhere, here's just one little word of caution. And I recommend the isogenics ones because generally when they concentrate the fish oils or the omega fatty acids, they concentrate the toxins, which would totally defeat the purpose of what we're trying to do here. And so the isogenics ones are pure. They're from cold northern Norwegian fish and flaxseed oil, and they make a difference, and there's a lot more to go into there, but I do recommend that. And as a starting point, don't worry about it at all. You're good to go. And then as you have access to more of the products, but you can also, check out your olive oil and those things too. Those do actually make a difference. Well, that's pretty much, I'm happy to answer questions if anybody has them.
I love it. Well, thank you. I'd love to hear a couple shares, one or two things that you're taking away from Shaunna. I learned some new stuff and I thought I knew lots, but thank you, Shaunna, very much. And I'm lucky I have a chef in the house, luckily, my husband, although he's gone for 3 weeks, so it's going to be shakes 3 times a day over here.
That works too.
Yeah, so who wants to jump out? Let's just share something that you learned from Shaunna or something that you're taking away. I didn't really know how to define that our shakes are low glycemic. I'm really glad to have that information. Thank you for sharing that with me.
The shakes, the bars, everything. And if you could look at isogenicshealth.net and you can Google low glycemic or glycemic index, and you'll see some of the studies that they've done to prove that. And the master formulator, John Anderson, is diabetic. And in fact has a kidney transplant, diabetic, so serious diabetic. And so everything is diabetic friendly. You can bet that.
Awesome. Who wants to share 1 or 2 takeaways and then we'll let Shaunna go? Come on, people. Let's share 1 or 2 things.
So Daz had just said the iso omegas aren't there yet, so kind of keep an eye out for them. Once you get the vitamins, they are in the vitamin pack. So you don't have vitamins yet either, right? Not yet. And hey, Erin and I didn't start with the vitamins either, and or any of that. Not even
guys.
Not even the Iso Delights or the E-shots, and we still got great results. So it's just that you start to rely on it more and more and more and enjoy it more and more. But yeah, yeah, I mean, you guys are in the right place. You're in amazing hands. This is a great team, lots of support, lots of education, and yeah, just make your choice. It's very forgiving. It's a very forgiving program. You can go out and have some fun on the weekend and still get some great results. But long term, or if you do that every day, then you're going to be wondering why your results aren't there. And this is why. Some of those things, those little details, having white bread instead of whole grain, that makes a huge difference. Yeah.
Awesome.
Can I just ask a question? So we don't have, in our 30-day weight loss and cleanse system, we don't have the Iso Delights. We can buy them separately. Can you, as an alternative, if someone has that sweet tooth or that chocolate, can you have, say, dark chocolate, a piece of dark chocolate, or is it best to avoid that completely?
I would avoid it. Dark chocolate's a superfood. It's healthy. It's one of my favorites, that and red wine. Where I'm going with this. That's why I do the science, so I can figure out how I can beat the system. So dark chocolate's really healthy, but not on a cleanse day unless it's the isogenics ones. They're not any old chocolate. They have less than 1/8 of an apple worth of sugar, and that's strategic so that crosses the blood-brain barrier. You're going to get a feel-good boost, especially if you have it half an hour before you eat or 2 hours after you eat or have a cleanse. You're going to notice the mood-boosting effect of that. It's got trace minerals, B vitamins, feel-good things. It's not the same as if you went to go and buy dark chocolate. they're going to have artificial ingredients. They're going to have toxins. It's not going to be pure. So on a shake day, go for it. But I would do not underestimate those chewables. You guys get the chewables, right? Those little things. You get the little chewables for the
pucks, the little snacks.
Yeah. Don't underestimate those. I mean, you will grow to love those little suckers. I mean, I remember the first time I had it, and I'm like, I'm not sure about this because I like cooking and stuff, and I'm not sure about this. But they are amazing, and the people who use those tend to get better results because they will not spike your blood sugar. They're like a mini shake. They have high quality fat, carbohydrate, and protein in a tiny little bit, and you can't get that little 25 calorie or whatever nutrition anywhere else. So those really work, and don't be afraid to use them. And if you're like someone who's super hungry on a cleanse day, just have more of those. Have more of those. Sneak in some almonds. If you're going to sneak something in, have raw almonds. Have a chamomile tea if you need to on a cleanse day or something like that. If you're needing to occupy your mouth, if you're needing to do things, I make my cleanses a tea. It lasts longer. It just sort of takes up more time. And then I highly recommend the Ice of Delight chocolates. It's just so much more pleasant. But yeah, I wouldn't do that. Shake days, sure. Cleanse days, no.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, Shaunna, thank you so much. You're always like a super entertaining and also a wealth of knowledge. And I love your stories. And I can just see you driving home, busy doctor, 4 hungry mouths at home waiting to come up with something for dinner. So it's probably times haven't changed that much, hey?
Yeah. Actually, they help me cook now.
Oh, that's good.
I have one that wants to be cooked, yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Well, you're such a great role model. And Shaunna does every Tuesday, we call it Transformation Tuesday. And every Tuesday she does a Facebook Live and she interviews some of our top transformations, or she does some kind of informational Facebook Live. So make sure you follow her on her Facebook and go to mealcure.com if you need some special help or if you want some extra help with creating those meals. And you can use her code. And thank you guys. And next week, I think we have Darren talking about fitness, if I'm not mistaken. And nothing like hearing from Mr. Universe himself on how to get fit. So we're really excited. And any last comments before I let everybody go?
No, not from us. No,
just to thank Shaunna again.
Thank you, Shaunna.
Yeah, thank you, Shaunna. It's brilliant.
I'll be downloading this shortly and be available to share with all of your cleansers and everybody in your teams by the end of today. But good night to the UK. I know you guys have to hit the hay. And good luck, Shirley, with all of what you're doing. And Shirley's actually, I think, moving over to Canada at some point soon.
Yeah, so, in the new year.
The new year. Yeah, well, we're excited to have you come and join us, especially because you're coming to British Columbia. So
yeah,
my UK neighbor just moved to, or my BC neighbor just moved to the UK. Well, come be my neighbor. I'm missing a blonde.
Yeah,
Kelowna's on the list. We'll have to talk to you again. It's on the list. Not
quite around to it. House it's for sale.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually talk to Louise Perry because she was living here. So Shirley is in Bonnie's team. Nice to see everyone. We'll catch you next week and we'll learn a little bit more about fitness. Have a good one.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Bye.